There's something special about Goofy on Mars, and that's because this episode of Mickey Mouse Clubhouse is kind of like what the pilot would have turned into if the TV pilot had been made to the standard that the TV show is. Obviously, with the animated pilot, is more of a prototype, a rough print of what the show would provide. This is kind of that episode, but much more elaborative and much more detailed. I don't know if that was intentional when they created this episode, but certainly there are hallmarks of the pilot in this. This one is the ninth episode, and this is written by Leslie Valdes, directed by Sherie Pollack. And needless to say, pretty obvious premise here, Goofy goes to Mars. It starts off really well. I should point out, as always, I'm not the target audience for this. I'm 30 years old, but I'm a very big Disney fan, and I kind of just can't resist analysing these from an educational perspective and seeing how beneficial they are. I kind of realised early on with Clubhouse that it's very educational and very beneficial to young children. Now I'm just kind of watching it for fun. But this episode in particular is very educational. It starts off with Mickey showing pictures of the moon and then a red planet, which of course is Mars. He invites the audience to shout at the TV screen to say what they see, to identify Mars, to identify the moon. Obviously, helping children learn about these things if they are currently unaware of what's up there in space. And they take it upon themselves to explore space a little bit more. Goofy decides to go off to Mars. But there is a problem because his rocket ship crash lands, and Mickey, Minnie, Donald, and Daisy need to do everything they can to try and help him, and that's of course the episode. There are a lot of counting in this. I think there's a moment where Donald forgets a number and he doesn't know what number comes next, so he has to ask the audience, and of course the audience has a chance to show off their knowledge about their ability to count, or of course to learn numbers. It's a pretty good concept. It's a good fun. Having it set in space or partly in space gives it a different setting, a different location, something very specific for children to learn about. I think a lot of children are very excited by the concept of space, and it's something that they can become very passionate about. And if an episode evokes a kind of new excitement or a new area of interest for a child, where they can then go to a planetarium or a science museum and develop this passion further, all because of an episode of Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, that's not a bad thing. I don't know if that's ever happened off the back of this episode, but it could. You never know. For me personally, I was very excited to see the spacesuits because I recently watched the pilot episode. And in the pilot episode, there's a moment where Mickey, Goofy, and Donald get into their, and Minnie get into their spacesuits. And they are, well, I will say they're very different to the spacesuits that are present in this episode. Very, very different. So I was excited to see what kind of outfits they would come up with. It's certainly very interesting. As always, the animation quality is really good across the board. So I can't complain. Usual fantastic voice cast, of course. Wayne Allwine as Mickey Mouse. Tony Anselmo as Donald Duck. I'm getting used to Donald talking more clearly more. I mentioned, I think when I reviewed the first episode of Clubhouse, that he enunciates a lot more in that episode and in Clubhouse in general than he does in, say, the classic Disney shorts. And because your target audience is a lot younger, it's obviously important that you can actually hear what Donald is saying much more clearly so they can follow the narrative more easily and also interact if Donald asks a question. To begin with, it felt a little jarring. Tony Anselmo has the voice spot on. He just speaks a bit more clearly than classic Donald. That's no offense to Clarence Nash. I think he got the voice perfect. But I'm getting used to that. I'm getting used to hearing Donald speak that way. Good fun. Really enjoyable. I was quite excited to see what would happen with, relating it to the pilot episode. Goofy on Mars, absolutely. It's educational, it's fun, it's well animated. What's there not to love?